Okay, folks, good evening. It is 6:05 p.m. and I am calling this meeting to order. Before we get going this evening, I wanted to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Advocacy, Mcneil First Nations peoples, and as a community, we recognize the ever-present systemic inequities that stem directly from past wrongdoings, and we commit ourselves indefinitely to respecting and reconciling this long history of injustice. So now that we've called the meeting to order, we're going to move into the first agenda item for this evening, which is swearing in of executive members and counselors. So I'm going to ask the executives to go first by reading their declaration of office, and then we'll move on to counselors. So I will ask the president to begin. You can feel free to share video as you do this.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I, Ryan Kevin Richard Ryan Afwan, holding the position of President and CEO on the Student Council of University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies and bylaws and ideals of the UPI Student Union. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of a UPISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Great, thank you, Brian. We'll now move to the Vpacs. Malik, you're muted.
Sorry, folks. So I, Malik Nasser, holding the position of Vice President Academic and External on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPI Student Union Student Council possible during my term in office. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the VPSL. You're once again muted.
I, Jose Alejandro Gonzalez Kong, holding the position of Vice President Student Life on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, UPISU, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Thank you, Jose. Now we'll move on to the VP Finance.
I, Ayomi Konoguntola, holding the position of the Vice President, Finance and Administration of the Students' Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPISU Students' Council possible during my term in office.
Great, thank you. And now we'll move on to the elected representatives, starting with the Faculty of Science, Laura Mcneil.
I, Laura Mcneil, holding the position of Science Representative on the Student Union Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPISU Student Union Council possible during my term in office.
Great, thank you. We'll next move on to Alexander.
Hi, I, Alexander Chang, holding the position of Science Representative on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPI Student Union. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPI Student Union Council possible during my term in office.
Thank you. On to, sorry folks, there's some audio issues there. On to Riley.
I, Riley Chappell, holding the position of Science Representative on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPEISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPEISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Thank you, Riley. We'll now move on to Sam.
I, Samantha McLean, holding the position of Business Representative on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPEISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPEISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Great, thanks, Sam. Next, we'll move on to Sierra.
I, Sierra Labeled, holding the position of Engineering Representative on the Student Council of University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPEISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constitution in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPEISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Thank you. Now on to Dan.
I, Daniel Timon, holding the position of Graduate Student Representative on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPEISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPEISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Thank you, Dan. On to Carrie.
I, Carrie Cruz, holding the position of Accessibility Rep on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaw, and ideals of the UPEISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPEISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Thank you, Carrie. On to Tasnif.
I, Tasneef Ahmed, holding the position of International Student Representative on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, UPISU, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and the ideals of the UPISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPISU Student Council possible during my term in office. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we'll move on to Bray.
I, Bray Delaney Smith, holding the position of Health and Wellness Representative on the Student Council of the University of Prince Edward Island Student Union, do swear to fulfill the duties of my position to the best of my ability. I do also swear to do so in such a way that upholds the Constitution, policies, bylaws, and ideals of the UPEISU. I also strive to represent those students in my constituency in such a way that allows them to receive the best representation of the UPEISU Student Council possible during my term in office.
Great, thanks so much everyone. And of course, welcome to your first council meeting of the year now that everyone is sworn in. We're going to move on to point 3 of the agenda, which is approval of tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Vpacs. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? You can second using the raise hand function. I see Sam McLean, business rep. Thank you. Malik, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just saying, welcome to the first council meeting, everyone.
Great, thank you, Malik. Would anyone like to speak to the agenda tonight? So this would be the time where anyone could suggest any changes or additions to the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote, which will be done by poll. So all in favor, please vote in favor. All opposed, please vote opposed. And if you wish to abstain from this, please vote abstain. Do folks require more time with the poll? Please indicate that you would like more time by raising your hand. Okay, seeing none, I will be ending the poll. For some reason, folks, the poll did not log anyone's answers. I'm going to revert back to the raise hand function for voting. So we're going to have to go through that voting again. All in favor, raise hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions, please indicate so in the chat box. Seeing none, the ayes have it and that motion has carried. We have approved tonight's agenda. The next item on the agenda reports are with the prints. Brian, would you like your report screen shared for folks to be able to follow along to?
Yes, please.
Nope. Just give me a second, folks. Okay, summer report. Okay, Brian, floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Brian again, the president of UPS Union. I will try to go through the report as quickly as I can because we probably have all gone through the points by now. Just one quick mention, a lot of the meetings I had in there were at least bi-weekly meetings or at least twice or thrice in a month. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna have it like only once. So in the month of May, online transition that we had as executives, everything was online, we didn't meet yet. That came into different, a lot of things happening differently, like the executive check-ins, for example, was something that I preferred to the classic exec meetings. So usually the executives and the full-time staff have an executive meeting every week whereby I'm able to chair it as president. But with COVID and everyone not really knowing each other, I adapted to a different format as executive check-ins whereby we would really talk more and get to know each other while also reporting and discussing our priorities for the year. We also attended Senate to discuss the fall delivery, whereby we'll be talking a bit about that a little bit later. A lot of the meetings happened for me personally. We had CASA Digital Foundation. So the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations is an organization for which we're a member of as the UPS Student Union, whereby different student unions across Canada are able to be part of it and do federal advocacy to the government. And it's divided into different committees. And I was grateful to be elected as a permanent member of CASA's National Advocacy Committee. What it means is that I have voting power based on everything we might discuss in the committee, impacting students in terms of federal advocacy. There also was the COCA online concert and some training, as well as the last two lines were mostly concerning research that I was doing on one of the pieces of my mandate. I'll be extrapolating more on that later. June again was heavy in terms of all of these meetings. I will skip all through them right now instead of mentioning them. Mental health video material with Asperia, that was essential. Given the new normal that we had, one realization that we had was that there was a need for material to be made more accessible to students because that's where they were gonna get it given the new normal. And we're able to work with Asperia to make that happen. The Maritime Student Congress planning. So typically a congress for all Atlantic student unions that are in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. It's an opportunity for student leaders to meet, discuss priorities, discuss things that are specific to our regions. And this year we were supposed to host it at UPEI for everyone to come here, but given COVID, we had to host it online. And I was I was a member of a planning committee as well as the executive directors for Student Nova Scotia and New Brunswick Student Association to do that with them to make it happen. E-learning letter with Faculty Association. As we were adapting to the new normal, specific needs kept on arising. One of these was concerning e-learning. And Malik and I typically were able to work with the Faculty Association to position and make asks to the administration, such that changes be made to better accommodate for our students coming the fall semester, such that there are less obstacles whenever they're changing from a normal setting to literally what we call now as the new normal, which is an online one. The Iranian Society dispute is something I will leave to Jose, going to extrapolate much more on that later on. Working with the mental health and wellness officer regarding current campus mental health resources. Again, new normal, and the needs that, like the things that we've been hearing a lot for students were that the needs that were there in terms of mental health might not be the same as were there before. Or if there were specific needs, they're not heightened and we need more support in terms of these. So working with a mental health and wellness officer to really finding ways about how we can best support our students, where we need to reallocate, to really hire more people, have more changes be done to better support our students in terms of the mental health basis. International Students Roundtable, a great opportunity for us, the UPISU, to be part of. Typically, it was at the height of everything happening concerning international students and COVID, whereby we were able, so typically what it is we have different organizations across PEI that directly impact the experience of international students on the island, and we're able to really share what we've been doing, share the priorities in terms of advocacy and working to allocate resources to better support international students. A lot of videos, again, the Asperia videos were able to be filmed and put out for students coming that month. different meetings to have with different folks to better work on my mandate pieces mostly. A large portion of the time was working with the exec committee and our wonderful bar manager, Mcneil, to make plans both of the UPISU's office and the Fox and Cro fall reopening, making the necessary changes such that we're able to welcome students and the students, two things, both feel safe to come to the office and talk to us because that's something that's required. And the second, we can better accommodate for them to come. If you want to meet online, if you want to meet in person, they can do so without having to wait for any other things to happen. And then we go to July. So July again, a lot of meetings again happening. The social media presence strategy was one good thing that I've been working on with our communications and marketing manager, and I'm continuing to work it on. It's actually one part of my mandate, whereby again, the need for us executives in both the UPI Student Union to be more present in an online format, because now everything is mostly online. Our students are in need of information, are in need of having their questions answered. So how do we make whatever changes we have to make or adapt to be able to be more present and be able to answer those questions to our students? And that's the thing, that's an ongoing project I've been working on with our comms and marketing manager to make it happen for us. A lot of OER meetings and EDI meetings based on questions and changes of universities we're thinking of in comparison to ours or how we were going to adapt. But mostly for me, these were ways to research for my mandate points and be able to adapt it to a COVID-19 reality. We had the Maritime Student Congress happening, which was wonderful. It gave opportunity to different VPs and presidents to really have a seat at the table and discuss priority issues. A lot of meetings with folks from the government again. And if we could go lower. Wonderful. We had the digital policy strat for CASA. So again, meeting concerning policy priorities now. So what are the policies we're going to be advocating to the federal government as members of the organization? And there's one other thing, so collaborating with a VP Finance and Policy and Research Coordinator on the City of Charlottetown's Community Sustainable Micro Grant Program. So that's one success we've been able to get until now, but I will leave that to Ayumikan to be able to extrapolate more later on since it was mostly her project. A lot of meetings happening again in the month of August. We're able to work with the team to set out a CASA 2020 priorities. So bringing those priorities that impact directly UPI students, bringing it to CASA so that we all can agree on what we'll be working on for this year for our students. Hiring of the academic coordinator, had a lot of interviews, and one of those was with CBC Radio Canada for Le Réveil Nouvelle Écosse, Terre-Neuve et du Prince-Édouard. These were great opportunities for me specifically to highlight the need for needs-based funding for our students, both from a Francophone and Anglophone version typically, that was nice to do. The COL, so the Council of Atlantic University Libraries, are interested in building an OER repository for students. So typically in BC, there's different universities. Not all of them have an open educational resource initiative. They just have an organization that works for all of these universities. So there's a project that's been ongoing to have one specifically for the Atlantic provinces. So I'm part of the working group and working with them to see how that would look like and to what extent us as the UPI Student Union would like to get involved as long as it benefits our students to the most of their capacity. Board of Governors met and we were able to go over the budget, the investments, the reports for the summer, and really ways whereby it's being made for us to help students, like things like that. Meetings again with different people. Meeting regarding student fees happening, that was constant. I included it once, but it was really a lot of these mini meetings happening all the time to be able to fill in the gaps, answer questions, or things that were not working exactly. We're able to participate in the RLA training and meeting the new RLAs. I was honored to be able to attend a conference on promoting resilience and sustainability in a COVID-19 reality for islands. The self-isolation back prep was a big thing that we had. So over the summer, I was able to do a lot of work such that international students were able to know exactly how to come back But then another question that was arising was, how do we support international students or students coming back in general when they're self-isolating? And one of the things that we were able to work on was those care packages that we were able to do and work on. And I need to say thank you a lot. A lot of the work was done mostly by our VPs and our full-time staff, and even our student staff, who put a lot of work into this to make it happen. And from the feedback, a lot of the students were really happy about that. Robertson Library reopening videos and different digital videos to really make it accessible and students to know what's going on, and a lot of event planning. So that's mostly it. I did not go over every specific thing, but just to give an idea. But yeah, I'm open to any question on any point.
Great, thank you very much for your report, Brian. Are there any questions for the president on his summer report? If you have any questions, please indicate so using the raise hand function. Seeing no questions, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the next report, which is the Vpac summer report. Malik, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So just a sec. Perfect. Hello, everyone. So I just want to put a little bit of a disclaimer before I start, is that we are we've decided as an executive team to go over the summer reports in less detail, just because we want to go over these again once we have a full council. So I will be skimming through it, not necessarily going through every point. And if you do have any questions, I encourage questions, and please ask away at the end. So I'll just get started here. Thank you, Ashley, for sharing it. May, I labeled every month with basically the general theme of how the month was. May was mainly transition and training. We had 2 Senate meetings initially at the start of the role, and those discussed approval of graduations. So we approved the graduating students for the class of 2020, 2021. No, for the class of 2019, 2020. And then the second meeting discussed several other student issues. I sat on the Undergraduate Research Awards Adjudication Committee, did a lot of transition homework, read the external policy book, familiarized myself more with my role and the nature of it, the actual work. We hired our lovely policy and research coordinator, Upi Board, and met with a lot of stakeholders, including Students of Nova Scotia, the New Brunswick Student Alliance, St. Mary's University Student Association President, Athabasca University Student Union President, had campus trust training, sat on Aspiria meetings, attended CASA Digital Foundations, and that is the Digital Foundations Conference for the Canadian Alliance of Student Association. It's basically our federal advocacy group where the Vpac is usually the primary delegate. For this year, I am not the primary delegate because I'm actually on the board. So I am CASA's Director of Policy. And then we had a lot of training with our former president, Emma Drake, about Vpac things, because she was also a Vpac, and as well just being part of an SU type of training. So government relations, media training, team building, etc. For June, it was mostly a very meeting-heavy month. We met with we did infographics up on the Instagram detailing supports for international students, because during that time, we were getting a lot of concerns about our international students and lack of access to supports. There was also the CASA board retreat, which was a meeting of the board since I was elected to the board. And we also hired the equivalent of the policy research and coordinator position here, but on CASA, and it was the policy and research analyst, and that was Philip LaBelle. We met with our UPI member of Legislative Assembly here on PEI, who is Hannah Bell, brought forward our concerns. We met with Minister Brett Trivers. I meet with a youth engagement working group regarding campus sexual violence, and I met with them 3 times. And these were general UPI meetings that we have just to make sure that we have these connections there. We met with the president, VP Finance, VP Academic and Research, Registrar, Sexual Violence Prevention and Response Officer, ITSS, Student Affairs, Alumni, Experiential Ed, the Library, the Faculty Association, the International Student Office, the NSO Coordinator, Communications Office. We met with our Indigenous rep on council last year, and we met with the Iranian Society, and I'm sure that our VPSL will touch more on that. I also chair the Federal Policy Committee meeting, or the Federal Policy Committee with CASA, so we met with the Federal Policy Committee, lots of CASA board meetings, and they happen bi-weekly ever since, so I still do those. And started a lot of our research and policy drafting projects, which I will talk more about in my mandate, so I'm going to skip that one. Had 2 interviews with The Guardian, and you can access those online. Did an academic appeal in June, which fortunately passed, best part of my job, and did a lot of research and consultation for our experiential ed policy. July was very work heavy. We got started in a project of getting our students safely back on the island. Met with the president, the registrar, the Minister of Education and Lifelong Learning, and talked to The Guardian about it. Project about reducing fees for students. We did opt-outs for athletics fees, international health, and more COVID-19 support fees, and the Special Situation Fund was announced, and more. And then CASA Policy and Strategy, that was another CASA conference that we had to attend, and there were lots of meetings with those, more CASA board meetings, CASA board liaison calls. So every member on the CASA board has calls, monthly calls with CASA members to make sure that we are reaching out to our members. So I have 3 of those monthly, and then did more research for our Indigenous student policy, and these are the stakeholders that we met with, all Indigenous student or Indigenous community groups across the island. Met with our mental health and wellness officer, we met with students from ABC, the Business Society. I sit on a library space program meeting, which is basically, I am the student rep for a program that is tackling an extension of the library. Met with residents, the EAP office, the Experiential Ed office, the Atlantic Student Development Association, and the Director of Post-Secondary Education of PEI and Partridge. Did another academic appeal that passed, and that was my July. As for August, it was very much a panic and finalizing projects month because school's almost here. Well, it's here now, but then it was almost here. Did more infographics. We had executives Instagram challenge to make sure that we are active on our social media for you folks and for our students, because everything is mostly online. We want to make sure that we're still in touch. Did updates to the Student Union website with our communications manager, Ashley. She's amazing. Hired our academic coordinator to help with academic appeals, and that is Anaga Morali Daran. I hope I'm saying that right. Shot videos for NSO. Did more research and consultations on our international student policy. So met with Health PEI on that and the International Student Office, and called several Medicare departments across Canada. I'm so sorry if this is taking so long, I'm almost done. More research, more meetings about a project that I will talk about in my mandate, more CASA boards and CASA calls, lots of more meetings, met with MLA Carla Bernard, great meeting there, and then finalized the International Student Access to Health Cards policy, finalized the Access to Technology policy, and did headshots, and then staff orientation this September. I have not yet met with the mayor and city council. I thought I had removed it from there, but we have reached out to them. Well, I did meet with the mayor, but not formally yet. I met with him at an event and I introduced myself and I told him that we are looking forward to meet with the whole organization. And he said, you know, reach out, we'll have that happen, but he hasn't answered back yet. Attended Toga Party, and I meet with the VP Academic and Research biweekly, more CASA board meetings. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for your report. Any questions for the Vpacs?
Oh, yeah.
Seeing no questions, thank you very much for your report, Malik.
No problem.
Next, we will move on to the next report, which is the VPSL. Jose, floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. I hope all of you can hear me well and you're having an awesome Sunday. I'm using Malik's computer just because I'm having some technical issues with my computer, but you know me, you know my face, here I am. Basically, I wanted to start my report with a disclaimer. All of our portfolios were severely affected due to COVID-19 because we had to adapt to CPHO and the Chief Public Health Officer, Heather Morrison recommendations. We had to ensure that campus was safe and that we were still doing our best to keep our campus community in a safe environment. Particularly the BPSL portfolio, as you know, it's kind of like events, activities, and it heavily relies on that social interaction, that social element of being in person. UPI did not release their stage 3 operational plan, which is kind of like the plan we are right now in terms of events planning and stuff, until August 3rd. So you could say that my time for planning was kind of heavily affected by this because a lot of things had to be changed around a lot. But I still put a lot of effort in what I did, and I hope that all of you can see it and that all of you will still have a great semester. But I just wanted to make that disclaimer in case you've been on council before and you feel like my report looks a little bit different. So yeah, no more COVID, please. Yay. So in May 2020, we had our executive team transitions. Basically, my predecessor was Tessa Rogers. She did her transition documents, which involved 19 plus events, campaigns, wet rides, beach plus, and summer moving forward in a COVID-19 world. Then with COCA, which is the Canadian Organization of Campus Activities, we agreed to host an online concert early on in May. It went all right. And then we had Campus Trust, COCA Awards, 2 people who were like on the committee for COCA. And then we just had different introductory meetings to meet different important committees on campus. I drafted the Student Event Organizers Committee. I won't be bringing this up today. I rather wait until we have a fuller council to see if that should be approved. I got introduced to COCA, paid the fee for this year in order to get their supports for the year. COCA basically provides us with like artists and different people who can come play music, do magic shows, comedy, all of that. I familiarized myself with bylaws, constitution, everything you need to know to be like a good executive. I clean up like the Google Drive and reorganize everything. I'm pretty sure that's something that all the executives can agree that is quite time consuming at the beginning. Something that I worked hard on at the beginning was make a really big spreadsheet with every single idea that I had for online events. I had about 50 ideas that were reviewed. Some ended up going into my event calendar, others did not. And then I also did a similar spreadsheet for campaigns. I reviewed all 17 campaigns that have been carried out at UPI in the past 5 years. And then I reviewed them with the executive mental health and wellness officer, Callie Ross and Emma Drake, to decide which campaigns would return. And then we go into June. So we had SB Pro training with Eileen Convoy. SB Pro is like our sexual violence prevention response officer. Then I had some more meetings with COCA. COCA was kind of trying to teach me how to be a good event organizer. That's really cool. I met with DJ Heming. He was in RLA and also hosted kind of like the music for the varsity games on campus. He wanted to collaborate with us for the semester. Met with Athletics and Recreation just so they could explain me how the gym was operating because that's important for the BPSL portfolio. Went to a workshop to kind of build collaborative workplaces. Me and Callie Ross met with Mental Health Association of PEI just to discuss how we can make sure that students have like a good mental health this semester because COVID will surely affect that. Again, review campaigns with Emma. We did media training with Emma and Ashley. That was just basically a quick rundown of how to do interviews, how to prepare for the words, etc., etc. And some more workshops that I attended. Oh, also, I worked with Molly Sherman from the International Students Office and first year experience department to put together the arts programs campus resources, which is something that arts students will have available to know how they can get engaged on campus. Then July, so more meetings with different departments, EAP, residents, international, etc. We did Maritime Student Congress, which gave us the opportunity to meet like other executives around the Maritimes. It was neat to get some ideas from them and they got some ideas from us. I had some UPISU Pride event series. So basically that was kind of like, woo, my first series of events. We had 2 in person, 2 online and 1 hybrid event. The 2 in-person events were Games and Pottery, Queers and Allies, and then Queers and Beers Learn Something. I would say both of them were really successful because they basically were at maximum capacity based on the amount of people each venue could hold. Then the online events were not as successful, but the people who did go seemed to have pretty good time. And then the hybrid event was our online drag bingo. Tanner McKinnon helped me host that at Lady 50 Years. We had like a camera set up so people could see it online, but it was also happening on a stage in residence in person. It was pretty nice. So the president and also our communications and marketing manager made me set up an Instagram account. I never used Instagram. I'm an old folk. So I had to learn how to use Instagram because it would be really important for me to be able to advertise this semester. And I think I'm loving it, so it's okay. We interview and hire our videographer and graphic designer. I helped film a tour of the W. Murphy Student Center for the self-guided tours for first year experience office. And I met with individuals who wanted to revive 2 clubs on campus that had been inactive for a while. That was where the International Students Association, which is coming back, and then Student Protecting Animals, which decided not to come back. And then I met with students who wanted to start a BIPOC ABC society. And me and Ayomikun met with Boris Chapman from the Farmers Market just to discuss a collaboration. Ayomikun will elaborate on that. And then we go into August. We help Malak with CASA priorities. We have the executive headshots. We look beautiful. You can see us on our website. It's awesome. And then I had the COCA Student Summit, which was basically a week-long 9 a.m. to like 12 a.m. kind of super orientation on how to be the best event organizer ever. It went well. I learned a lot. Awesome. Loved it. I helped co-host the variety show for NSO with help of Carrie Cruz, who is right here. And then I met with Jane Bassi, who was the events and ceremonies coordinator, just to like review if all the events that I have for the fall semester are safe. She approved them, look good. I'll go over those later. Then met with accessibility services just to see what extra supports we could bring to students during this time. Finalize details on consent campaign, which is happening next week. So be sure to check it out, share the things, make students go. Love you all if you do that. And then we had an interview with CVC about being the first full international student executive team. And we met with Ashley, who is the chair of council, who you're meeting today, who's awesome. She helped us basically kind of decide how council was gonna happen and elections and everything pertaining to the Student Union Council. And then we go into the first half of September and we're there right now and it's kind of crazy, but we're there. So we did staff orientation with Ayumikun. I helped her with icebreakers and stuff, you know, bringing up the party. And then I'm working on the club's online fair, which is happening next or this coming week, starting Monday. Be sure to check UPISU social media accounts to check all the clubs will be coming back. I hosted Toga Night last Thursday with Carrie Cruz and also NSO and the executives team. It was pretty fun. We all drafted together a UPISU COVID-19 policy, which basically includes everything on how COVID-19 is affecting the student union. Then I added an amendment to the Clubs and Societies Funding Policy, which is about the STAR Fund, which is a new fund opportunity for clubs and societies. We did back preparations. I work on infographics. I'm sure a lot of you might have seen them. They're just easy, how to join clubs, how to start a club, mental health resources, and services, just because our graphic designer didn't have that many hours, and secretly, graphic design is my passion. We did UPSU presentations for RLA training and international student orientation. We did a library video, which explained how the library is working. And finalize every single detail about mental health and consent campaigns, which are happening this week and the week after. Be sure to check them out. And then my summer report is a little different from the others because then I decided to focus on like my summer long goals that did not happen like in 1 month, but it was like all over the summer. So basically, I drafted an event calendar, which is ready and designed. There'll be printed copies in the Student Union, and also they'll be available on our website. It includes everything pertaining to clubs and societies, important dates, campaigns, event series, and general events. I don't know if Ashley can share that now, if we're gonna wait after. It's just maybe Ashley?
Would you like it shared now?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the student life event calendar, is that what we're talking about, Jose?
Yep.
Okay.
I sent a bunch of things to Ashley, so sorry everybody if it's like a lot of things.
Are you seeing it here, Jose?
I don't. I think I shared a folder with everything, but if not, it's okay and we just can move on.
Yeah, I think we'll have to. I'm sorry I don't have it available.
Yeah, so basically it'll be available on our website. There's gonna be printed copies in the office if you wanna check them out. Maybe I'll go more in depth during the next meeting when we have a fuller council for all those things. Ashley, if that's okay?
Yeah, that sounds good, Jose. Sorry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And then I work on the membership cards for clubs and societies. Basically, the first year we did it, we have 5 businesses. Last year we had around 12. This year we have 25 local businesses providing discounts to members of clubs and societies. They're anywhere from like 10% to 15% off. So if you want to save money and have a good time and make lots of friends, be sure to join a club or society. I'll go over the businesses next meeting. Clubs and Societies Handbook. So basically it's been revamped to include new sections that make it easier to read. So for example, there was never a section on how to actually join a club. So I added that before you begin section that tells you everything you need to have prepared before you even consider making a club or society. And then all of them have new information regarding COVID-19, obviously. And then there's new sections specifically for fundraising opportunities because a lot of the fundraising opportunities that club societies usually do got affected, and COVID-related forms. I'll go more in depth after that later. The Club Society Startup Fund, basically it's a funding opportunity club societies can apply for. It gives you funding from $100 to $250 to club societies that basically we're trying to support everybody because COVID has affected fundraising opportunities. There's different parameters to being chosen, doesn't matter. And then I had to work hard to encourage clubs and societies to come back, basically because I assume a lot of them have, they're already worried about school, they're already worried about many other things that are being affected by COVID. But me and the club's coordinator work hard and basically really try to get them back. As of right now, we have, I wanna say 18 or 19 coming back, which is pretty good considering the year. And then Ashley, we can keep going. Those are the club societies that have applied to return. Then COVID-19 safety precautions and adaptations. So basically those are just a bunch of different documents that will ensure that we are safe if you go to in-person events. Contact tracing forms, you've seen them in restaurants, you know how they work for the most part. Symptoms acknowledgement form is just for you to kind of acknowledge that you are not experiencing any symptoms if you're an event host, just to mitigate the risk. And a checklist that tells you everything you need to have ready for events. And then the COVID-19 event kits are events we'll have available in the UPI Student Union. You can take them to your own events. They will help you sanitize and have all the supplies needed to make the event safe and clean, I guess. And then I've been working with our marketing manager just to do updates on the Student Union website. I feel that applies to every single one of the executives. We had to basically add a bunch of new information, reworked it. I added some new tabs, you can check it anytime. Then UPI renewing dissolution, that's a point that's left for me, and Malik and Brian mentioned it. Basically what happened was that there were some disputes and disagreements between executive members of the group. As a student union, we tried our best to truly give them the best support we could. We offer kind of like guidance on how to make transition, how to do online elections. We assign Ashley, which is the Sheriff Council, as an advisor to help them kind of mediate their issues and do an election, but it didn't pan out. But basically, ultimately, the best decision for the executive members was to, and all the members of the society as a whole, was to dissolve the society. That's kind of like a last resort. I really wouldn't like to do that again, but after reviewing the situation with everybody involved, I'm sure that it was the best we could do. Yep, then we had all the executives had Instagram challenges just to make sure that we were active and giving information to you guys throughout the semester. I hope you enjoyed those. The Student Life Guide basically is this book which tells you everything you need to know, how to get involved, how to volunteer, how to have fun on campus. It's kind of like a little neat document about every single social thing happening on campus. And then I work on the executive group for clubs and societies. And also this year we'll have a UPI Clubs and Societies online hub, which will be kind of like similar to the International Students page or the Campus Life page, where basically all students on campus can join and they just get bombarded with different news about clubs and societies. So I realized that I spoke probably way longer than I had planned, but like, I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for your report, Jose. Are there any questions for Jose at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much for your report, Jose, and we will move on to the VP Finance. Ayomikan, the floor is yours. Ayomikan, you may be muted still. We're not hearing you.
Okay, sorry about that. So this includes the report of the VP Finance and Administration. This report highlights my various projects in the office, and as well as new initiative I have and would be implementing this year. So for the month of May, this includes a lot of executive transition with previous executives, just getting acquainted to the role and how it works, reading through constitutions, bylaws, policies, old emails, different documents that could help me understand what my role entailed. Got acquainted with files, computer hard drives from people that were in my position previously. Also started meetings with the mental health and wellness officer, which continued over the summer. The month of May was the month we evaluated the budget. So basically all the funds that we didn't use to travel for like CASA or Campus Trust or different conferences, we allocated those funds to the supplies, the food bank. Sat on hiring board for the first set of Fox and Crow staffs. These were previous staffs that were working in the Fox and Crow previously. So we had to, interview them again before they could come back. Also sat on hiring board for the policy and research coordinator. Had various meetings with different stakeholders like Xperia, Campus Trust. Got introduced to Campus Trust and had the trustee training. After that, I had to take an exam because I wanted to be a trustee. So after that, I got elected as a trustee. Sat on the first library council meeting. June comprised of a lot of meetings with executives, media training with Ashley and Emma, met with student affairs, the VP Finance and Administration of the university, alumni president, and all of that. Also attended the 2020 Building Collaborative Workplace Workshop. June was also the month where we started operating the online food bank. So basically what we did was, send out interact to students. Depending on the number of students that applied, we used that to gauge the amount that we could send. Also created a pamphlet for different services, which would be used for the service awareness campaign. I'll be talking about that later on in my mandate. Had our first Campus Trust Board of Trustee meeting, which we do it every month, continued over the summer. Met with Anne from Student Affairs, and I am Elaine from Counseling regarding the service awareness campaign. So the campaign was supposed to include everyone on every service on campus, which would still include that. So I had to meet with different people. regarding that. The month of July, we had meetings with several people on campus as well. Laura from Residence, International Student Office, AAP Office, attended the Maritime Student Conference, met with different VP Finance from the Maritimes, discussing how things are running in their schools and just basically sharing ideas with each other. July, I also met with Boris Chapman from the Farmers Market to bring a new initiative to help reduce food insecurity around campus. So basically what this entails is like, it's kind of like, it's the sustainability grant. So the farmers market apply for this grant and, you know, give the vouchers to students. So students have the opportunity to purchase food from the farmers market. And so it's kind of like a win-win. Students get money to purchase food and also helping local farmers. So that was the initiative around this. The form is up now, so students could apply. Started running the bike co-op, which is my best service. Labeled all the bikes. It was stressful, but organized the survey for the UPI supplies. Basically, this survey entails, what I wanted to do this year was bring diversity to the food bank. So I sent out a survey where students can write what they would like to see in their food bank and all of that. Attended the 2020 Campus Trust Assembly of Participating Organizations. So what this means is just like it's supposed to be an in-person conference, but it was a conference where all the schools as well as their administrative managers come together to just talk about how their campus trust is working, what they are doing differently, and UPI has the best plans so far. So met with the business society, met with Eileen regarding the workshop for the mental health campaign. So we were supposed to do this campaign for the service awareness campaign, but I found out that the date matches with what Kali's campaign. So she's just going to do the workshop for the mental health campaign. August created a fall schedule for the Panther Patrol, which could accommodate different student schedule. This is still going to change because I have to, because so far we haven't had a lot of students use the Panther Patrol, so we still have to, reach out to students to see what time works best for them or what they want us to do differently for the Panther Patrol, so we could increase the usage of the Panther Patrol. Sat on hiring board for new Fox and Crow staff. So these are the new staffs coming into the organization. Sat on hiring board for the editor-in-chief of the cadre as well as managing editor. Applied for funding from the City of Charlottetown through the Micro City Grant for the bike co-op. This was going out for basically initiative regarding sustainability. So we applied for the bike co-op. So we're going to be expanding and we got approved for $1,700. So we're going to be expanding the bike co-op. And also a quick update, the bike co-op has gotten around almost 60 usage throughout the summer. So, and we have just 10 bikes so far. So it would be a really good initiative to maybe get more bikes so it's accessible to more students. Shot NSO videos with other executives and staff, met with Katrina from the City Hall to discuss publicizing the new bikes. So basically, we have to, acknowledge that this funding was given to us by the government and, just basically work with the communications manager to publicize this. Had a meeting with Jennifer Taylor from Department of Applied Human Sciences. So what this meeting really entailed was, since I had gotten the response from students, I wanted to see how we could, provide healthy foodstuff for them throughout the semester. Updated the various services tab on the UPI-SU website with our marketing and communications manager, met with accessibility services with VPSL, Jose, had CBC interviews, ISA training, RLA training, and all of that. The month of September, organized the 2020 staff orientation. This started in August, but we had the orientation in September, so which includes the different workshops, like Eileen came to talk about sexual violence. We invited the Vpac or Share to talk about anti-racism and discrimination. Shannon Snow, we also had a lot of fun stuff thanks to Jose. Created the staff handbook for staff, which comprises of policy, structure of the organization, basically everything that could help staff during the year. Created an operational plan for the Panther Patrol, as well as the bike co-op, which could be found on the website. I had my first meeting with the finance committee for Campus Trust. So basically, after getting elected as a trustee, I joined the finance committee. So we had our first meeting where we kind of teaching us how to access the invoices and all of those other things. Attended Toka Party, met with Sister Sue and Jennifer Taylor around the operation of the food bank during this year. Had our last managing editor, met with editor-in-chief, which is Sam, to see how the cadre board would work this year. That's pretty much it from me.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for the VP Finance? Any questions at all? Seeing none, thank you very much for your report. And now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a report for the Senate. For that, I will open the floor to the President.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, hello everyone. I will try to go over a bit about like what's been done in terms of the Senate. I'll try to keep it short because I know I've been here for a while. So typically the Senate met twice by the time we started office. The main things that was discussed in the Senate was concerning the fall academic delivery. So exactly how school would look like in the fall. We've all gotten updates into what's that look like right now. So typically what was done was to give the possibility for every faculty to be able to work and see what are the courses that needs to happen in person, what are the skills that students need to be here to be able to get, and what are the courses that they can take online or in a way that, and also bearing in mind that every decision that was made had to make sure that students are safe at the end of the day. So a lot of that was done, and that is why the semester is looking a bit like it's looking right now. So that's mostly what was done in the Senate. There was also discussing about the operational plans and how the school would be open. Right now, Jose mentioned a bit about the different stages. So there was 3 stages in total about how the university would open. There are stages where it was limited to only particular staff or in essential services. Then we had facilities come back, and then we were able to also go back to the building at some point in time. So that's basically what we talked in the Senate about, in bulk about the fall delivery. But if Malik had anything else to add, I would be open to this.
Thank you for your summary.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak to this? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you very much for that report. Next report we have is for Board of Governors. For that, I would open the floor once again to the President, and also I believe Carrie Cruz was also sitting on Board of Governors. So floor is yours, folks.
Thank you. Brian, I do have something typed up. Okay, so just a couple of updates. This was my last Board of Governors meeting, and that was in August, because now I'm transitioning into accessibility rep. So there's an update for COVID-19 financial aid, and I'm hoping that there's an update. So President Alice said UPEI has already committed to the annual $40,000 amount plus an additional $100,000 from the provincial government to the UPEI Student Adversity Awards budget for the 2020 fall academic semester. The application process for this round of funding will open up in early September, with the selection committee, which is chaired by the Associate Vice President of Students and Registrar, and includes representatives from UPEI Student Affairs and the UPEI Student Union. They meet in mid-September or have already met, I don't know. Students can apply for assistance on the UPEI Student Adversity Awards webpage. Brian, did you want to speak a little bit on that?
For sure. The first thing that I would say was like, Carrie did an amazing job, and I want everybody to know that. She gave a report at the end, and it was beautifully delivered. One of the main questions of why, so $100,000, as Carrie said, the provincial government promised it to us during the summer. It's taken some time to get there. I've personally been bothering people to be able to get it by now, but the $40,000 was most of the work was done by Carrie, if not all of the work was done, whereby one good question was asked, where Carrie asked what would be the amount of money that UPI could be able to put forward for students without typically breaking the bank or the university not being able to open or function. That's when Ala said for $40,000 amount. So that brings the total in terms of needs-based funding for our students to $140,000 in total. That is great news for everyone. I am still working on the amount and setting everything. I've been bothering people concerning that to make sure. But once everything is confirmed and set in place, all the documents and all the, in terms of the documents and to be able to inform students are ready. We're just typically waiting on the provincial funding money as of now. When that happens, when everything is ready, we'll be posting it on Facebook typically, and I will be coming back and updating council mostly about that once I am back.
Yay, that's awesome to hear. And two other little things. So campus Wi-Fi, I know it doesn't really matter right now, but we can still use the library. So campus Wi-Fi internet capacity has upgraded from 400 megabytes to 1 gigabyte. And I don't really know what that means. I just know that means it's going to be higher speed internet. So yeah, you don't really need to know about the data center, but basically the university is kind of doing an overhaul for the Wi-Fi system on campus. So that's really positive for when we can come back on campus. It'll be a lot better. And finally, the residence building, as I'm sure you've seen the construction, I just wanted to let everyone know that the building should be complete by the end of 2022. And that's all for my report. Thank you for this position. It's been fun, but now I'm the accessibility rep.
Great. Thank you so much for your report, Brian and Carrie. Great job. Any questions for Brian or Carrie? Seeing none, we will move on, and that marks the end of our report section for this evening. The next item that we have on the agenda is approval of fall election dates. Fall election dates would typically have been approved by council in the spring to set up, you know, the new Council for Success. However, due to COVID-19 and some, you know, significant challenges to holding the elections, the council in the spring had opted to not bind this year's executive to an exact date. Therefore, the dates that I'm about to propose have been formed in consultation with the executive and all other shareholders. So what we are proposing for fall elections is a nominations for fall elections will open on the 14th of September and close on the 25th. Campaigning will open on the 26th of September and go until October 5th. And then voting for the election would be occurring October 6th and October 7th. So at this point, I would ask for a motion to approve these dates as presented. I see Brian.
Yes, hello, me again. I move to approve the set dates as said by Ashley.
Thank you, Brian. Can I get a seconder for Brian's motion, please? I see Carrie as the seconder. Brian, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, quick and short. It's essential. I like the dates that they were discussed with Ashley as well as all the executives, and we feel it's going to be solid to be able to both give us an experience as counselors and also be able to support our students best this year.
Great, thank you, Brian. Would anyone like to speak to this? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote using the raise hand function again. All in favor of passing the motion? Opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the ayes have it, and that motion has carried. So those will be our fall election dates for council. Now that we've completed that, we will move to point 6, which is review of fall election procedures in reference to COVID-19. A number of the items that have to be discussed here are how we can customize the election process to a more online platform. So as it stands, when someone generally runs for council, they're given a nomination package and they're asked to collect signatures from folks in person. Seeing as the majority of courses are not being offered in person, it seems impractical to require them to have in-person signatures. Therefore, at this time, I'll open the floor to one of the executive members who would like to speak to the suggestion.
Ashley, I have to say your internet cut out, or our internet cut out a little bit here. So can you say that again, just because we didn't get
Yep.
all.
Sure, Malik, I'm just looking for someone to speak to the updated elections procedures that we are suggesting based on the fact that people will not be able to collect in-person signatures.
I can speak to that a little bit.
Sure.
So we had a meeting with our chair of council and the executive team about the difficulties and challenges that it would be running for an election in a virtual space, and looking at what the requirements were for running and how we can adjust those to best support the candidates that would be coming forward, hopefully, in the election. And we saw that removing the signature requirement would make most sense, just because it would be more accessible running and more accessible supporting someone who is running for an election. As you all know, you have all ran, the form requires you to get X number of signatures. For example, students who would be in your faculty if you're running for a faculty representative position. Instead of signatures now, we have moved it to be just the student's ID and email, and the signature requirement is waived. Again, we just think it makes most sense with an online environment going forward for this election, more accessible for the person running and more accessible for the folks who are supporting them to run. And I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Are there any questions for the Vpacs on this topic? Okay, seeing none. Malik, would you like to make a motion to the effect?
Absolutely. I would like to raise a motion to approve this decision.
Thank you very much. Can I get a seconder for the motion? I see the VPSL, Jose. So Malik, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you.
Would anyone like to speak to this motion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and that motion has carried. The next item that we have on the agenda for this evening is an extraordinary meeting request. So this meeting is being suggested for council to meet on October 8th, 2020. It's being suggested that council meet on October 8th, 2020 to approve the election results from the fall election, As it stands, we currently do not have a meeting until the end of October. It's suggested that we meet for this additional meeting, which will be have new counselors be able to attend the full council orientation, which is currently scheduled for October 24th, 2020. Are there any questions about this? I see Carrie.
Sorry, I just forgot to lower my hand.
No problem. Thanks, Carrie. I see Malik.
I guess, can I speak to that motion, or is that too early? Or not?
Yeah, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to this effect.
Can I raise a motion to approve or create a council date for October 8th?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you for raising that motion. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see Jose, so raised by Malik, seconded by Jose. Malik, would you like to speak to that motion?
Yes, please. Okay. I love any opportunity to turn my camera on just to have some sort of communication with everyone on the call. So it's just, again, discussed during our meeting with the executive team and our chair that there is usually, as you know, best practice to have an extra meeting just to approve these election dates, to have hopefully a full council, or not election dates, I apologize, to approve the election results, to have a full council going into our scheduled October meeting, so we, you know, have that done. So it'd be just a short meeting, hopefully, depending on the agenda, approving in the elections, and then we'll have a full council by October, and it's just to speed things up a little bit. Housekeeping, basically. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor of approval of the October 8th council meeting? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion has carried. The next item that we have on the agenda for tonight is review of by-election procedures in reference to COVID-19. This is once again more to the housekeeping side, as Malik suggested. The current UPEISU bylaws require that after the fall election is held, if any positions remain vacant, we must hold a by-election in order to fill those seats. So generally there's the September election, and then if those seats aren't filled, there's an October by-election. And then if no one offers in the October by-election, then we can actually move to an appointment process. In consultation with folks, due to the uncertainty of COVID, and once again, kind of just in the interest of moving to the point where we would have a full council, it is being suggested that we waive the by-election to proceed directly to appointments after the fall election. So I will ask for a motion to that effect. I see Carrie.
Sorry, do I have to say the thing?
Yeah, sorry. You can just say, I move that we waive the October by-election and proceed to appointment.
Thank you so much. I move that we move, no, sorry, I move that we
waive
the
October by-election.
October by-election, oh my God.
To move directly to an appointment process.
To move directly to an appointment process.
Thank you for your motion, Councillor Cruz.
Thanks.
Can I get a second? Can I get a seconder for that motion? I see Brian. Thank you very much. Carrie, would you like to speak to that motion?
I think I already said enough.
That's scary. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Seeing no, move to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and that motion has carried. The next item that we have on the agenda for tonight is the CRO Hiring Board, which is point 9. As it is a hiring board, that would require us to move in camera. So at this point, I am going to be pausing the recording and we will return after we have completed the hiring board, as it is an HR matter. Thank you. Okay, we have now concluded the hiring board. Can I get a motion to approve the results of the hiring board? I see Brian.
Okay, I move to approve the results of the hiring board.
Thank you for your motion. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see Carrie. Brian, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think that's okay. We already said everything.
Thank you very much, Brian. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor of approval of the results of the hiring board? All opposed? Abstentions? I see Malik as an abstention. The ayes have it and that motion has carried. We will now be moving on to the COVID-19 policy. Seeing as we are at the 1.5 hour point, it would be an appropriate time to recess temporarily if folks felt the need to do so. So if anyone would like to raise a motion to that effect, that's fine. If not, we will continue on. Jose?
Yep. Hello, yes, I would like to raise a motion for a short break recess thing.
Thank you, Jose. Can you put a time limit on that, please? My suggestion would be 10 minutes.
I'll go with that suggestion. Sounds wonderful.
Thank you for your motion for a 10-minute recess. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please?
Can I second that?
Seconded by Malik. Thank you very much. Jose, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, everybody enjoy your breaks. I hope you're enjoying our first council meeting and you're all doing wonderful. You're so good at this. Oh, I'm so proud.
Thank you very much for that, Jose. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and that motion has carried. It is 7:31 p.m. We will resume council at 7:41 p.m. Okay, folks, and we are back from that short break. Before we get going on the next agenda item, I did want to take us back a little bit. Due to a mistake on my part, I forgot to actually get a motion for us to move into camera. First meeting, just getting back into the role of things. So can I ask for a motion for us to have moved into camera to approve the CRO results? I see Brian.
Hello, me again in a sweater. Okay, so my motion would be, I move that we go into camera to review the Cro Hiring Board results.
Thank you for your motion, Brian. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see Carrie, thank you. Brian, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I think it would be good.
Thanks, Brian. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion has carried. Thank you for helping me go back and fix my mistake. The only other thing that we need to do is we do need to entertain a motion to leave camera. Brian, would you like to raise that as well? Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, let's go. So I move that we leave the in-camera session.
Thank you, Brian. Can I get a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Tasneef. Would you like to speak to the motion, Brian?
I think I'm good.
No. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of moving out of camera? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion has carried. And for anyone who's watching the live stream, that was in reference to the in-camera session that we already completed. So thank you, folks. Move on to for agenda item tonight is the COVID-19 policy, which I'm going to screen share with you now. So the COVID-19 policy is a brand new policy. It was drafted by the executives in order to reflect changes to the organization due to COVID-19. The preamble, the UPEISU is committed to ensuring the health and safety of all staff and patrons. The UPEISU will therefore comply with all applicable government and UPEI rules and regulations in regards to COVID-19. Due to the nature of COVID-19, in the event that there is an inconsistency or conflict between the UPEISU policy and the government and/or UPEI rules or regulations, the government and/or UPEI rules or regulations shall prevail. So we have some rules around events and campaigns. In-person events will occur under strict rules which have been put in place for participants' health and safety. These rules can be found at the following link. So you can see the links for the province of Prince Edward Island and the University of Prince Edward Island. Participants are required to follow all instructions provided by event organizers and hosts. This includes, but is not limited to, staff, volunteers, executive members of the UPEI Student Union, students, faculty, etc. Failure to follow these rules will result in repercussions such as dismissal from an event or inability to host events in the future. B is COVID-19 etiquette for online events and meetings. Online events hosted by the UPEISU will adhere to the principles of inclusivity and accessibility. Accommodations can be made in terms of platform usage and settings to enhance the online environment and experience. Private messaging on online meetings platforms is discouraged unless a message is being sent to the host, which will be reflected by the UPEISU in the chat settings. This is to ensure that all participants are included in the conversation. Comments, words, and actions that create an environment of discomfort, harassment, discrimination, or bullying during online events can be reported to the event host and will not be tolerated. Such actions during online events may result in the removal of a participant or participants from an event. Sub-organizations, clubs and societies. Clubs and Societies Hub. In order to use the Clubs and Societies Hub, you will have to book it beforehand using a room booking form by checking in with the UPEISU front desk. The Clubs and Societies Hub can hold a maximum of 5 students at any given time. The Clubs and Societies Hub will be open during regular school hours, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. After use, the space and any common utensils or tools must be sanitized. Please request cleaning supplies from the administrative manager or the VP Student Life. COVID-19 event kits are meant to provide the sub-organizations of the UPISU, as well as students at large, coordinating events with the student union, supplies needed to successfully sanitize common areas before and after events. COVID-19 event kits must be checked out of the student union officers prior to use, and approval must be given by one of the following: the general manager, administrative coordinator, vice president student life, or clubs and societies coordinator. Event kits must be returned with all supplies originally included during checkout, and these supplies must be in good condition for future use from other students. Every kit comes equipped with the following, which you can see on your screens. COVID-19 event kits must be returned to the student union offices within 1 business day after completion of the event. Failure to return the event kits may result in the following: a sub-organization will not be permitted to host any more in-person events for the remainder of the semester. If the event kit was lent to another group belonging to UPI, they will lose privileges to use UPISU COVID-19 event kit resources for the remainder of the semester. Meetings, COVID-19 etiquette for meetings. In-person meetings will be in line with physical distancing and mask protocol, the Chief Public Health Officer's guidelines, and the University of Prince Edward Island's recommendations should these meetings occur at UPEI. If physical distancing and mask protocols cannot be adhered to, then the meeting will need to take place online or using a hybrid blended method. The online meeting etiquette applies to all employees, counselors, and volunteers of the UPISU. The purpose of this section is to ensure a safe online environment for the UPSU that is free from virtual forms of violence or discrimination. Counselors and employees hold a position of trust and are obligated to avoid situations involving any forms of online violence or discrimination. The primary responsibility and obligation of counselors and employees is to support and protect the welfare and interests of the student union and its members. Online etiquette is defined as the most appropriate and acceptable way of communicating or behaving in an online environment. Please abide by the following principles. 1, refrain from posting content. 2, refrain from inappropriate or aggressive language such as swear words. Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. 3, maintain an open mind of various opinions during discussions. Ask questions when needed for follow-up clarification. We reviewed that one in detail since it is a brand new policy. Are there any questions about the policy as it is written?
Can I guess say something?
Yeah.
Sure.
What's the word? Encouraging folks to ask questions. I know it's the first council meeting, and I know that we have a lot of first-time counselors, but please, if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask any questions. We are happy to answer your questions. No question is a bad one, and even the simplest ones. We are here as the executive team and the team as well to answer your questions. So please don't be shy. Don't be afraid to ask anything. Participate, even if it was about the policy or anything else, really. Just feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you, Malik.
No problem.
Any other questions on that? If not, I will be asking for a motion to approve policy 40 as written. I see Brian.
I move to approve policy 40 as written.
Thank you very much, Brian. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see Carrie. Brian, would you like to speak to your motion?
For sure. So in brief, this policy it's been a lot of work behind it. Ashley, general manager, as well as have put a lot of work into it to make a COVID-19 in terms of a UPISU safe and inclusive and without discrimination for everyone, as well as accessible. And that is why it would be great if it passed.
Great, thank you, Brian. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Seeing no one, we will move to a vote. All in favor of approval? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and that motion has carried. We will now be moving on to the next item on our agenda for this evening, which is a policy amendment to the club's funding policy, which is an existing policy. Jose, did you want to speak to this policy change?
Yep. Yes.
Let me share the screen for you and there we go.
So basically, the clubs and campus initiative policy is one that holds almost everything or a lot of things pertaining to how funding works in terms of us providing funds for clubs and societies. So as I mentioned before, this year we'll have the Clubs and Societies a Startup Fund, and I'll just read for you what it basically is. So the Startup Fund is meant to provide sub-organizations of the UPISU with an operational grant that will assist them with any projects and initiatives they wish to accomplish for their academic term. The funding available per sub-organization is between $50 to $250. For eligibility, you must be a ratified sub-organization of the UPI Student Union. Requests must be made by an executive member of the sub-organization. For returning ratified sub-organization, the current bank account must be less than $300. Sub-organizations must have a bank account set up with this UPI Student Union, and funding will only be awarded to sub-organization once per academic year. For funding deadlines, the deadline for the application is the last day of each month. Application instructions, applications are to be completed on the UPISU webpage under Clubs and Societies resources. Physical applications and or applications initiated through email would not be accepted. And for accountability, after society has been selected to receive funding, they will receive a check for the allotted amount. At this time, the society executives must sign up an accountability form agreeing to the following terms. 1, within 14 calendar days after the final day of the event or other activity, receipts must be provided to the BP Finance and Administration. 2, if receipts received total less than the amount allotted, the remaining balance must be repaid to the UPSU within 30 calendar days after the initial 14-day grace period. Societies who do not provide receipts will not be eligible for funding in future periods. And 3, all funds granted by the UPISU can be re-signed prior to the physical issuance of a check to the society for any reason. And then the funding committee reserves the right to determine the amount of funding dispersed. The funding committee reserves the right to refuse any application. And the Vice President of Finance Administration must archive and record all funding allotments issued in a given year, including a copy of the funding application and related receipts. Checks. Any check that has not been picked up by a society after 90 calendar days will be marked null, void, and discarded. B, checks will only be written to the club or society. No personal checks will be written for funding for a club or society. Oh yeah, and then point 7, bias. A, if a member of the funding committee has a conflict of interest with an application being considered, they will not participate in the discussion and vote regarding the allocation of funding for that application. And finally, point 8 is a disclaimer. Starting with point A, approval of funding does not constitute an endorsement of the event or activity the society puts on. It simply constitutes that the application met the eligibility criteria. B, any risk or liability resulting from any annual activities undertaken with funds granted is the responsibility of the society. And C, as per UPISU Executive Committee bylaw, the Executive Committee takes on the responsibility and authority of the funding committee during the summer months. So if you are if you're part of council and you're also in a club or society, which I know because I know some of you have that in account, that we have a new funding opportunity for you guys. And I hope many of you will take this opportunity. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much for your presentation, Jose. And a great new initiative for the UPISU. At this time, I'm asking for a motion to approve this amendment to policy number 37. I see Malik.
I move to approve this
amendment
to the bylaw number 37.
policy?
Policy number 37.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I get a seconder for that motion? I see Carrie. Malik, would you like to speak to the motion?
I hope that anyone who knows, clubs and societies who need the startup fund, encourage people to apply for it. And I hope that it helps some of our clubs and societies get more funding towards the initiatives that they wish to create this year.
Great, thank you very much for that, Malik. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this policy? I see Laura. Laura, did you have a question, or was it a? Okay, back to you. Are there any questions on this policy? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor of approval of the amendment to policy 37? All opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the ayes have it, and that motion has carried. That brings us to the next point on our agenda for this evening, which is the review of the 2020-2021 budget. And for that, I will pass the floor to the VP Finance. Are you McKim? Are you available to discuss the budget?
Yeah. Should I share my screen?
I can share it, or I can probably, let's see. There, you should be able to share your screen now.
Can you see my screen?
No.
Okay.
Are you, is this, there are some issues here. I'll flip up there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, sir.
No worries. There's some sharing issues with Zoom.
Okay, so this is the UPI Student Union budget. It was previously approved April 2020. I'm just going to do a skim through of what we have here. So basically, first of all, we have the source of cash, which is a student union fee, student center fund, event programming. Those are events that Jose hosts. Also health plan, late opt-outs. Also other revenues, and the use of cash would be Office of the President, the Vpacs, VP Finance, VPSL, student center debt. So we renovated the Fox and Crow, so we currently have a debt that we're still paying to the university. Also student center operation, whether that be the telephones or different things that we have to pay to the university. Also students council services like the Panther Patrol, the supplies, by co-op, the Fox and Crow. We'll just move on to the Execs Portfolios. Thank you. So the Office of the President, this entails the salary of the President, also the Student Initiative, President's Initiative, communications. We don't have anything for communications currently because we moved that position to a full-time position. So it's, would say it's in the future. Branding, social media boosting, graphic designer, as well as photographer, also AVC orientation, graduate orientation, education orientation, all of those other things that we do. Also the Office of the Vpac, which entails the salary, CASA conferences, also CFS, elections, provincial conferences, academic coordinator, and the policy and research coordinator. The VP Finance, this comprises of the salary, also the funding, different funding opportunities like funding for clubs and society, counselors initiative, all of those other fundings that we offer to students. Also the health and wellness coordinator, which is a new position that was added this year. That position also has her operation budget for maybe initiatives or events that she wants to host. Also the Campus Trust Conference. Also we have the VPSL, comprises of his salary, events that he hosts, also different programs that he hosts for different departments, whether that be graduate, international, first year events, campaigns. Yeah, also society initiative, club membership program, and all of that, COCA. Also the clubs coordinator, it includes her salary and all of that. We'll move on to the Fox and Crow. Yeah, so this involves the operating revenue. So this is the estimate. The foods, we estimate this for food sales, liquor sales. Basically what we expect to spend this year. Would change this after we hold a budget consultation this semester. So all this is still subject to change because we don't have the exact numbers yet. We also have the operating expenses, whether that be for advertising, decoration, equipment, maintenance, staff training or initiative, the cook's salary, as well as the assistant manager. All of those other expenses are included here. Moving on to services, we have the handbook. So that's the yearly handbook that we have for students. This includes its printing expenses, also for the cadre, revenue from the cadre, as well as wages for the different staff, the editor-in-chief, managing editor, also writer's bonus. So maybe these are people that write for the cadre, so they also get compensation, also different materials that they may be needing in the office as well. The yearbook, so revenue would be, this would include the revenue, printing, the cost of printing, as well as the yearbook staff who helps with the running around for the yearbook, whether that be we also have the Graduate Week editor. Also for the Panther Patrol, this would include the wages of the driver, as well as fuel, insurance, uniform, parking fees, and all of that. We also have a section of the budget to accommodate the bike co-op, maybe that would entail like repairs or different things, maybe new helmets, the keys, also the food bank. We have assigned certain funds to operate it. Moving on to operations, this would include the salaries of the full-time staff, as well as their benefits, also all the donations we make as a union, the operating expenses for the office, maybe that be cell phone or the office assistant pay, employee appreciation, all of those other things. Moving on. Service workers, so this includes their salaries, also utilities for the building, the heat, the electricity, insurance, equipment, all of these are also included in the budget. And lastly, the service student fees. These are the fees that students pay, whether that be for CASA, CFS, the student union fee, student center operation. That's like the money we use like to pay up the debt for the student center, transit pass, WOTH, and Xperia. So we currently estimated the enrollment to be 4,700, but will be setting by September 18th.
Great, thank you very much for that. Are there any questions for Ayumakin on the budget? I know it can be a lot to take in. There's a lot of lines there. You did a great job reviewing it quickly. Seeing no questions, I suppose we will move on. Thank you very much. The next item we have for tonight is the 2,000 plus expenditures. And I will once again open that up to Ayumakin.
Sorry, Ashley, would you be sharing the screen?
Yes, sorry, let me grab that for you again. Sorry for the delay on that, folks. It is right here. There we go, floor is yours.
So the 2,000 plus expenditures, these are basically the maybe the use of cash that are above $2,000. Basically what any transaction we make that is above 2,000 plus. So first of all would be the UPI. So this is the operating cost, as well as Fox and Cro renovation repayment. So a couple of years back, we renovated the Fox and Cro. So we're basically paying back the debts to the university, as well as, you know, telephone bills, postage, office supplies, all of this we pay to the university. Whether we want to mail something, we have to pay all this to the university. July 15th, we also, you know, paid our first instrumental due to CASA. June 16th, we paid to another fund to the university for operating costs, phone bills, different things that we use around the building. For July 31st, we paid to Pineapple Bites. So what Pineapple Bites is, it's the POS system that we use at the Fox and Cro. So we paid that in August 11th. Again, we paid our operating costs to the university. August 25th, CIBC Visa. So this is like, we have three Visa cards for maybe expenses that we run around the office, whether that be Jose's Pride events, online resources, Panther Patrol, phone, newsletter, basically all those running around. That's also for the RBC Visa, different running around the office, the upgrade of plastic glass, floor stickers, those expenses. That's for August 27th, Science City. For September 1st, we paid our first payment to Campus Trust for health, dental, and international insurance costs for the month of September. And for September 4th, we paid to the university again for operating costs, Fox and Pro renovation payment, telephones, as well as other expenses around the office.
Great, thank you very much for that. Are there any questions for the VP Finance on the 2000 plus expenditures? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is presentation of the executive mandates. And we'll start with the president. And let me screen share that for you. There we go.
Hello, and I'm back. I'll try to make it as quick as I can because I know everyone is tired at this point. So this is my executive mandate as president and CEO of the UPISU Union. This is a breakdown of exactly what my job is. The first thing, I'm a primary spokesperson of UPISU. So everything media, talking to media, talking to students, talking to government people, basically all of that, this is a primary responsibility of my job. So I have to be aware of everything that's happening with the organization and be able to speak to some extent until the other VPs' portfolios or anything happening with the UPISU. I also chair different committees as the executive committee, as well as the New Initiatives and Future Directions Committee, on which Ashley talked a little bit about it before. I am a member of the Upi Board of Governors and the UPI Senate. That is why I was able to talk a bit about it earlier before. So the UPI Board of Governors is one of the two governing bodies that we have at UPEI, and it's concerning everything financial with the university. The UPI Senate is a little bit similar to, it's also one of the governing bodies, and its main responsibility is anything academic with the university. And as president and CEO, I get to be a member of both of these boards, and I have voting power on them. So I get to be able to vote until any motion or anything that directly impacts our students for their welfare. I also liaison with the president of the university, with the government, and mostly what I do is setting the strategic direction and objectives of the organization. So being sure to be on top of everything that's going on in everyone's portfolios, be it staff. I also supervise staff members of the UPISU and everything like that, and really making sure that everything is running smoothly. And we can go to the next slide. Overview, okay. The road so far, I think with the summer report, we've all gotten quite a hint about how it's been for us at the UPISU Union. It's been quite rough the first couple of days having to work from home and adapt and everything. But everyone really has been putting on a lot of work for it to be working really well for our students. It's been a very stressful last couple of months to be able to put off work. A lot of things we would have done in the fall already had to happen in the summer, but it's all been good until now, and we're grateful to what we've been able to accomplish, and even look forward to what we are going to be able to accomplish further. And these are the 4 points that I'm going to be talking today on my mandate. First item, okay, we can go to the next, okay. The Truth and Reconciliation Student Calls to Action Award. That's one of the things I'm really passionate about working on. It was one of the projects that was hinted to before my time, and then I got to be able to do a lot of work on it throughout this summer. I've been able to work with Education is Our Buffalo, which I hinted a bit in my summer report earlier. It was a student. His name is Michael Sima. He was working and doing his Bayesian education at UPEI, and one of his last projects was a scholarship proposal to Professor David Various. So they had that idea in mind of being able to create a scholarship, not just an Indigenous scholarship, but mostly an award that favors and shows that reconciliation is possible And that's basically how it's broken into. So there's 2 student awards of what it encompasses, each one of $500. So there's an Indigenous student award given to an Indigenous student, self-identified, and it could be any Indigenous student concerning that. And it's mostly about the work that they're doing towards reconciliation and their involvement with Indigenous culture. There's also the Ally Student Award, and this could be to any ally again. It's $500 again, and it's literally people are qualified for it, students are qualified for it based on the work they're doing towards reconciliation and the efforts we're seeing in their actions. There's also another piece that comes into it with a celebration event for the awarding of a student award. That was one of the things while collaborating with Educations of Buffalo, we wanted to see something, because if this project is successful, it would be one of the first, if not the first project in terms of reconciliation at the student level in terms of a scholarship that would happen across Canada. And the next slide. Yes, and why is reconciliation important? And why is even this award important? Well, reconciliation is a crucial step that has to be taken, particularly when UPI's student population keeps getting more diverse every year. We're all different, it's happening, and that's something we have to recognize. And that's something we have to evolve with our student population that's increasing every year, and that's something that's helping for that. The second one would be to set an example and show that reconciliation can happen while informing and supporting our students' access to education. This is really a project that is going to show that if you really want to put the effort forward and are willing to put in the work in collaborating and being able to compromise, that you can do it at any level. But if reconciliation can happen at UPEI in itself, on PEI, it can happen anywhere and different universities. And it's also Indigenous students are a policy priority for the year 2020-2021. So based on student consultation, that's one thing that our students were able to identify pre-COVID, and that's why it was done, and a lot of work has been put into that. Next slide. And how? It's mostly with collaboration. So collaborating not only with Education as our Buffalo Community Center, but also with Indigenous folks, be it professors or staff members at UPEI or even in the community, and other members of the UPI Student Union, as many people as we can to be able to brainstorm, having initial conversation, making changes wherever needed because it has to adapt to what it is as a reality. And working with the alumni office to be able to make it happen as a scholarship. And I'm hoping, when it happened, I'm putting fall 2020 and winter 2020, because it's broken down into several parts. The awarding of a scholarship might happen then, but the celebration of a scholarship might continue further. And even if there are more opportunities for a scholarship that arise, I will be working on those and adding on to them for as much as people can know about it. Second item, Strike 2.0. That's something you folks should not be too, should know about that happened. That was one of the main points that Emma Drake, my predecessor, has been working on a lot. So one of the things I'm really passionate about is providing underrepresented groups skills to run in elections. Over the whole summer, I had different ideas in mind to be able to work on it. EDI committee, EDI plan, adding more positions to count. There was different conversations that I had. And really at the end of the day, I looked at what we had right now in some of the UPI Student Union itself. We have 4 executives, all international students. A lot of our student staff are international students. And really what I wanted to do is, instead of creating a plan or something that would be bureaucratic, I wanted to give more opportunities for students to be able to go for these positions, to make it easier in an online reality for students to be able to do that. So that's a little bit of background. The program purpose is to provide underrepresented groups, such as women and non-binary folks, the tools plus skills they need in order to run in student union elections, but also leadership positions around the whole campus. It doesn't have to stop there. Also, one of the things I really wanted to do was taking the research and learn experiences from the boot camp. So one of the biggest sessions to be able to create a program outline for 2021 and 2022 execs to adopt, because that was very challenging really to do, to go about it from scratch given COVID. And I would like the next executives, if that's something they really want to carry out and bring forward, that it's easier for them to do that. Next slide. Awesome. So why? Again, the need to make skills essential for leadership positions to be made easily accessible. It's necessary. We want to be able to empower as many people as we can. We want to have a strong and empowered student body, and that's one way of doing it. With more diversity, more perspectives are taken into consideration for decision making. That's exactly what we want. We want students to, instead of having a particular student representing a particular group, having a student in some role, for example, a different role, and being able to represent so many different views at the same time instead. And a strong motivational factor for our evolving student population. So getting more students involved literally in our elections, involved with the UPI Student Union, and being able to grow as itself and an organization for students. Next slide. How? Partnering with groups such as the PI Coalition for Women in Government, the Queer Collective for working group sessions, but it's not going to be limited to that. I will be looking into more groups as they come to be able to do that, because now it's online and I have more opportunities and we get to make more time for people around the world. And when will it happen? Again, I'm shooting for the fall and the winter, because it's going to be broken down not only in just one session, it's going to be one big session, but also many sessions along the way. So I want to be able to spread it out across the fall semester and also the winter semester. And I'm aiming at putting, again, the big one, as we said, the core day skills bootcamp in February and March for potential candidates for spring elections. That was extremely helpful for me when I ran for president, and I really want our folks to really have that experience as well. And campus mental health resources upgrade. One of the big points of my platform when I ran was mental health. I had a lot of points and a lot of ideas, but they were mostly structured. They were things that should have been changes in terms of physical or around campus. And given a COVID-19 reality, that cannot happen. So we've had several meetings during transition, whereby one thing that continuously was being raised was how we're doing a lot of work to bring students back. We're doing a lot of work to have them around, but given a COVID reality, it's becoming extremely harder for students to deal with not only school, but also their mental health state. And areas that were not heightened before are now much into consideration than ever before. And while if we're going into a new normal, our services and the way we support our students need to also adapt to that new normal. So that's basically what I plan on doing with this one. So assessing the gaps and needs of students in the new COVID-19 normal, advocating for changes to be made to better cater for our students' mental health support, and improving student awareness of Asperia, plus strategizing to inform students of available mental health support resources. Next one, why? Well, the learning experience, as I said, the learning experience is acutely different this year. Students are impacted in new ways, and concerns are mounting in areas where enough support is not catered for. And support needs to be there such that students are able to better focus on their education and all their responsibilities. Next one. How? Again, collaborating, working together. The primary person I plan on working on would be our mental health and wellness officer. She's been awesome until now, brings amazing ideas to the table, and I'm grateful that we have her around the office. And really basing oneself on the UPI campus mental health strategy as a guideline. Because the university has a strategic plan that it goes about. If I'm able to make use of that strategic plan and put in our ask to be able to make the changes, it would be wonderful and easier for us to secure it for our students. And again, when it would happen, it's a long-term and divided project. So I'm putting fall 2020 and winter 2021 in there as my deadline. And branding the UPISU, putting this one in inverted commas because it's very broad, and I plan on doing quite a lot with this one. What it typically is being able to develop relationships with Atlantic student unions, but I would also like to expand and bridging the gap, the online gap in between us and our students. So getting not only the execs, but also us as counselors involved with our students in this new reality to better support them. So two of the things I've been working on this summer would be boards that were created typically based on projects. So the first one is the Atlantic Open Educational Resources Repository. So UPEI is the only university until now from a province in the Atlantic region to have been able to secure an open educational resource initiative, or in common words, a free textbook initiative. Other universities are trying to do it, but they have not been successful until now. And it was a lot of work that was put by previous executives, Emma Drake and Sweta Deboo, to make it happen. So what's now happening in different provinces like BC or Ontario, they have a main place whereby, and it supports all the other universities in the region. And yet, the Council of Atlantic Libraries, is trying to do something similar in the Atlantic region. So it would be one common place which would help provide open educational resources to all universities of the Atlantic region. Right now, what I'm planning on doing is mostly working with them and seeing to what extent we can collaborate, because we've already very far ahead and we've been doing a lot of good work ahead. But really what I'm planning on doing is using those relationships and being able to build on them to raise more awareness about open educational resources, such that it becomes much easier. So both students are aware and also government is aware, so that we are able to secure more wins in the years to come on that aspect. The second one would be the ad hoc COVID-19 committee that I have with Student Nova Scotia and New Brunswick Student Association. So again, it was a committee that arose from the need that student leaders had to adapt in a new reality. They had to collaborate in being able to bring forward ideas and being prepared for whatever might come. So that's a way for me personally to be aware of whatever is happening, to know what projects is being worked on, what could be working really well at UPEI, but just to be on top of the notch, as well as being able to collaborate on distinct projects and bring forward betterment of our students typically. So why? Being able to collaborate on projects benefiting UPI students, both on the short-term and long-term basis. With the uncertainty of a new normal, this allows the UPISU to be informed in a time-sensitive manner of initiatives taken regionally that would benefit our students. And the next slide. And how? So consistently being in communication with liaison members from several Atlantic student unions. Communication comprised of, but not limited to, phone calls, video calls, and emails. Personally, until now, it's been really, really helpful. A lot of initiatives we're able to bring forward and make changes here and advocate on behalf because we already knew what was happening elsewhere, or we found one of the ideas really helpful for us. And I think it's going to evolve over the time and the year. Other collaboration pieces would also be added to this part of my mandate, whereby I'm able to really value those relationships and use them for betterment of our students. And again, when would be fall 2020 and winter 2021 semester. And now we're at the point where I ask if we have any questions.
Are there any questions for the president on his mandate? So this is an outline of what his year in office will look like. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand now. Seeing no questions, we will move on to the next mandate report. Thank you very much for that report, Brian.
Awesome, thank you for having me.
Okay, so our next report will be the Vpacs. So Malik, floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashley. So what I'm going to do right now is I stood up to do this. I'm trying to put my platform, my laptop on like a platform made out of books, just to change things up a little bit for you folks. I encourage you to, if you're sitting down, stand up a little bit just to re-energize. I know it's been a long night, but we are getting through this. So I'm trying to change it up for you folks. So my executive mandate, hello, this is me. I will be your VP Academic and External for 2020-2021. Now, what is VP Academic and External? As you know from the title, there's two parts to the role. There's the academic side and then there's the external side. Now, the academic side is that I represent you folks with regards to everything academic. Now, this is mostly done to the university. Other, VP academics in other universities are either just VP academics or they're called VP internals. So it's basically internal advocacy, but as well as academic representation. That involves sitting on Senate, which is the highest academic governing body of the university, as well as Senate committees like the Academic Planning and Curriculum Committee that discusses things like prerequisites for courses, credits, the duration of courses, reading week, and the fall reading week and the winter, fall reading week that was just added. So EPCC discusses these kinds of things. As well as academic grievances. What are academic grievances? So a student might have an issue with one of their professors or with a grade. If a student gets a grade that they are not satisfied with, and they want to appeal that decision, which is something you can do, you would come to me, as well as our academic coordinator, which is the new position we just hired for this year, and we would help you folks with appealing that decision and getting whatever you want to do. Now for the external side of things, it's mostly advocacy. Again, it's representation, but it is advocacy and representation to the external organization. So it's not the university, it's the municipal government, it's the provincial government, and it's the federal government. It's the stakeholders that are in relation to students. So for example, one ask that we might have to our municipal government, which is the city of Charlottetown, is, for example, students see value in, making another crosswalk off of across University Avenue for our students to be able to walk to school more accessibly. That's something that we would advocate on to City Council and the city of Charlottetown. Provincial, a lot of provincial advocacy involves accessibility, funding, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of advocacy in regards to student loans. So the Island Advantage Bursary, which is a bursary that is given to folks who apply for student loans on the island, that was expanded based on advocacy from the student union this last year. And there's more. Federal advocacy. There's usually federal advocacy in regards to a variety of topics with regards to federal jurisdiction. So in Canada, there is levels to government, the provincial, the federal governments, and each government has a set of its own responsibilities. So we would advocate to the federal government on responsibilities that fall under them, and then advocate to the provincial government about responsibilities that fall under them. And our federal advocacy is what we do with the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations, or CASA, and it's a group of schools that do their federal advocacy together. So that's what we do. And then we do advocacy based on external policy research and development. So we do our research on what our position is, and we basically write an evidence-based position paper about a certain topic, for example, international student aid, and that is called an external policy. And we advocate on that to the government. Other duties as required is other duties as required. So initially, in my understanding, which is wrong, was that we would have presented the mandates before the reports. So some of this is not going to make sense now, but it's going to make sense because I've already presented the report. So as for this summer, basically this is what I'm going to discuss in the slides. We could just go through it, it's fine. Thank you, Ashley. So how was my summer? Already discussed in the summer reports, I did a lot of policy research and development with our wonderful policy and research coordinator. And these 4 sub-bullet points are basically the topics or themes that were created in last year's council that were our policy priorities for this year. So when I have my job and it's my job to research, I say, okay, what am I going to research about? And those topics that I'm going to research about were topics that were given to me through student council in the past year. So we would do the same thing, give the next Vpacs her policy priorities at the end of our academic year this year. So look out for that. And these are the policy priorities that my research has been on. International students. We wrote 2 policies so far, one about international student retention and one about international student access to health cards. Indigenous students, a lot of consultations has been done about that, and a recommendation report is being written to the university. Experiential education, again, lots and lots of research on work integrated learning and experiential education opportunities for our students. And our policy has already been written about that, as well as student financial aid. After looking through some of the advocacy efforts from last year, we decided to go with a policy that was already written last year about student financial aid, and those are our 4 policies for this year. We've already done a lot of advocacy and government meetings, so we've met with government and MLAs. We will have more meetings this upcoming November, so more updates on that then, as well as a lot of work with CASA and our ADVO Advocacy time with CASA usually falls in November. This has not been decided yet, but also more info on that to come. And then I already tabled the summer report that I had presented earlier. As for my mandate, so the mandate is usually the extra stuff that we do with our portfolio. So mandates are, what else are we going to do with this role? And I've chosen 4 topics for my mandate, and I've divided them 2 in the winter and 2 in the fall. For the 2 in the fall, I focused on access to technology. Excuse me. So access to technology wasn't necessarily voted on in the policy priorities that were presented in council, but those were presented pre-COVID. Excuse me. After COVID has hit, I saw that access to digital infrastructure has been something that is very, is an issue that is going to arise a lot with our students for this year, and something worth tackling. So what I proposed or am working on right now is a collaboration with stakeholders and the community to obtain more digital infrastructure for our students. And that is a fancy way to say getting more laptops and devices for our students to use. Now, why are we doing this? Is because students are expected to have reliable access to digital infrastructure. When everyone said, you know what, everything's going online, people expected all the students to have laptops that work, to have iPads that work, to have Chromebooks that work. And that is not necessarily the case with every student. And that is something that we have to recognize. So students are not burdened by the transition to an online environment, and to reinforce the UPIC's relationship with external stakeholders and involvement with the UPI community. So we're going to reach out to the community, and we want them to help us obtain more access to technology. How are we going to do that? So we can look at the next slide. I've already started this project, but we are working with the library to look at the resources that we already have and the need that we have to compensate for with more resources. And the goal is to advocate to the provincial government on matching a UPI grant that the library is applying for. So if you folks know, the library has a laptop loan program. You can go to the library and you can loan out a laptop for 7 consecutive days. The library currently has 22 Dell laptops and 10 Chromebooks, and is applying for a grant to increase that amount. We are hoping to get the province to donate a similar amount to us to obtain even more laptops, and that is in the works, hopefully to be advocated on in the fall, hopefully November. We'll see how that goes. And then that's my first mandate item. The second mandate item is increasing student representation on university committees, and that is to get more student feedback within the university. So now more than ever, we see the importance of student feedback, the importance of student evaluations, the importance of student voices within the university. And I know I said I'm gonna stand up to make everyone, more energized, but I'm tired, so I'm gonna sit down. So more student feedback and creating more and increasing student positions on different university committees. So make sure that we have your voice as a student out there within the university and represented. And that's, again, to increase the student voice, allow more student feedback, and empower and involve more students. How are we doing this? I'm working with the Vice President Academic and Research, the Faculty Association, and reaching out to different deans to discuss the different committees and the committee structures, and looking at what we need to do, the measures and positions we need to create and change to fill student positions. Hopefully starting this in the summer, doing outreach to, well, I did start this in the summer, hopefully doing outreach to students in the fall and filling the positions by the winter. And then the third one is one that I have adopted from last year's executive mandate, just because I believe it was a very successful initiative, and it is advocacy training. I would say it is similar to Emma and Brian's Stride, but in the Vpac's portfolio. So this is just more skills enhancement and training for our students, but it's also a good bridge between, students and the student union, and also student and the Vpacs, which is usually a position that is more seen as intimidating and less approachable. I promise you, it's not that. It's not that way. So it's just a one-day workshop that aims at providing students with tools and strategies to best lobby groups for causes. So it could be anything. It just gains you training. Maybe you want to ask for more money from your parents. They send you $200 a month and you want that to be $400 a month, and I can help you get some skills that maybe can increase your lobbying and advocacy skills. So we can just go to the next slide. And it's hopefully going to be a twofold workshop, so 2 parts of it. I increased a little bit from last year, so I'm going to change it from last year's. I'm including more, I want to include more speakers and icebreakers, because how it looks like after is that you get into groups where you do the advocacy training scenarios. So they're like, real life-ish scenarios that you go through, and I wanted to make sure that we're doing icebreakers before putting people in groups together to work together, and hopefully this will happen in February of 2021. The last thing on my executive mandate is a policy paper, and it's basically just a well-rounded, all-encompassing position paper of a certain topic that the organization publishes. And most advocacy organizations do this. The New Brunswick Student Alliance does this, Students of Nova Scotia does this, CASA does this, and I think that the UPISU can publish a policy paper for this year, hopefully, write one. And it just makes our, position on a certain topic more grounded, more accessible, and out there. It's good to have publications. Hopefully also publishing it in March of 2021. And the topic for this year is international students so far. Does anyone have any questions? Also, I put my email, Instagram, and Twitter down there if you would like to reach me. Please, well, I'm not trying to say follow me, but follow me if you would like. I hope I put out a lot of helpful information.
Thank you very much for your report, Malik. Are there any questions for the Vpacs? Seeing none, we'll move to the next report, the next mandate, which is VPSL. So Jose, the floor is yours.
Yay! So how's everybody feeling? I know it's been a fairly long council, but like all of this is important. And it's important for all of you to have all this information so you know what we've been up to, where are we going, what are our goals. But I hope all of you are having a great time, learning a lot, maybe thinking about running for executives yourselves in another year. So yes, my name is Jose Gonzalez, basically VPSL. My responsibilities are general events, campaigns, clubs, and societies. Basically, I'm in charge of making campus more fun, more engaging, more upbeat, more awesome, all those things that we love. I try to make everything inclusive, accessible, engaging, and prioritize fun over everything else. So I have 4 mandate points today. Basically, they're divided each in what has been done and what remains to be done for the semester. So mandate number 1 is a hybrid adapted model of events to ensure health and safety with COVID-19. So what has been accomplished? As mentioned before, we have the fall 2020 event calendar, which includes all the dates for general events, campaigns, event series, and anything clubs and societies for the fall semester. The Student Life Guide was mentioned before, which is basically an all-encompassing book about how to volunteer, how to make friends, what can you do on campus that's not strictly academic, because let's face it, the university is more than just your academics. It's also about growing socially and making friends. And then I did the COVID-19 forms and guidelines, which include the tracing forms, symptoms acknowledgement, guideline for hosting events, the event kits. Here is how the event kit looks. Basically, you'll have a UPA sticker and all your resources that you need to carry out a safe event are inside. Ashley, could you please put on camera the fall calendar, the event calendar? Ashley?
Yes, sorry, Jose. I'm trying to get it up right now. It's not looking right in Google Drive because this is what I'm seeing right now.
Ooh, that unexpected.
Yes.
I guess we'll continue. Are you able to open any of the documents, or do all them look kind of jumbled up?
I'm gonna take a look and let you know. Just give me a second, folks. I'm sorry for the delay. My internet is not really equipped to host this many folks on a Zoom call.
Should I just go on?
Yeah, Jose, if you just want to continue, I'll have your presentation back up in a minute. I just had a computer crash.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Guys, every resource that I will be talking about, as mentioned before during the summer report, they will be available on the Student Union website, the offices here on campus. And if you want to learn anything more about any of these, you can either reach out to me, so I'll send them out to you, or I can just send an email at the end of this, kind of sending all of this out to you. Because it'll be important for all of you as leaders on campus to be aware of all these different opportunities that are happening to make sure that everybody is actively participating in campus beyond classes. So we can continue, Ashley. All the resources, we'll check them out later.
Okay, sorry about the inconvenience, Jose.
It's okay, it's COVID. It's always COVID. So what remains to be done? So basically, I have to draft the calendar for winter 2021. This is mainly because usually the BPSL follows a pretty strict path of what they have to do every month. This year it's pretty different. I don't get to do my wet dries or most of the big traditions we do. So for example, this year we're trying a once a day event to make sure that there's always something going on, at least most days of the week. So we'll see which events are well received, whether students preferred hybrid events, online events, in-person events, and I'll be tweaking the winter calendar based on how the fall calendar is received.
Just give me a second, Jose. I've got your calendar.
Yay! Awesome. So as you can see there, basically the months are ready. Most events do not have a time yet just because we're still tweaking those, but the days are pretty set. For example, next week, we have Consent Week, as mentioned before, with a variety of different events, Consent One-on-One with Coffee, Love and Sex in a COVID-19 World. We have Take Back the Night. The event calendar also has important dates not pertaining to events, such as when's the last day to drop courses, to add courses, to pay for tuition, convocations, stuff like that. As you can see, events in oranges are everything pertaining to clubs and societies. Events in green are online events hosted by volunteers. And then it's all color-coded. We have nomination period happening from the 14th up till the 26th. We have campaign period from the 26th until, like, I want to say the week after. You can go down, Ashley. Oh, we also have mental health campaign hosted by Callie Ross. It's going to be great, lots of events. You can see we have Reading Week. We have a variety of different online events happening, such as trivia, Jeopardy, bingo, Mental Health Mondays. For Halloween, since we don't have Halloween Pub, we're going to have a series of Halloween events, starting with a magic show, followed by a murder mystery party. We'll have a jack-o'-lantern making competition with a screening of horror movies, and we'll finish up with a Halloween fashion show. And then for November, another Mental Health Monday, online events. Then we have Cultural Diversity Week. We have Foreign Movies Marathon, World Music and Folk Tales by Folks, an international panel about intersectionality, and All Around the Globe talent show. More online events, some clubs events. And then we are bringing back 5 days of cheer with a wishing tree and decorating with hot chocolate, comedy and Christmas caroling, a gingerbread making competition with houses and gingerbread women and men and everything in between. And then UPISU Christmas dinner hosted by the Fox and Crow. And right after that, we have this dress campaign, which will also be hosted by Callie Ross. It starts on the last day of November and goes into December. Basically, a bunch of events that will prepare you for your finals or just make you feel more relaxed. We have effective starting workshop, grants and raise from UPI students, exam kits organized by jack.org. As you can see this year, the December break starts later. That's because we have the newly added fall reading week. And yeah, just basically we have a lot of events. And if you're interested about learning more about this, again, website, offices, or contact me. Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, so I think we can continue. So my second mandate point was revisiting campaigns and creating theme event series. So campaigns have traditionally not been the most successful portfolio pieces of the BPSL. So this year I'm gonna do my campaigns bi-yearly. That means we're gonna visit a topic in the fall and then revisit it in the winter. So for example, if right now in September we have Consent Week, you can expect to see it come back for the winter. There's 3 reasons for doing this. 1, it allows students to kind of like address the topic and then revisit it later to see what ideas they have come up with or how do they feel about the topic. 2, it reminds people that something is important as much as it is at the beginning of the year as it is near the end. For example, consent, important all year round, mental health, same with that. And 3rd, it allows me some leeway because I don't know if COVID will change or we'll have a vaccine or something, we'll see. But basically, maybe I'll be able to make more awesome, off-top, crazy events in the winter, which is why we're visiting those. Campaigns that are staying are the most successful ones, so love and sex and consent. Less successful campaigns like health and fitness, environmental will have in one-off events. And then mental health and distress, as mentioned before, will be handled by Callie Ross. And yeah, I already mentioned the UPISU Pride events, so I think we can move forward. What remains to be done in terms of campaigns and event series? There's gonna be a year-long COVID-19 health and safety campaign. I feel like COVID-19 is affecting all of us, obviously, but if we try to make it fun, if we try to kind of do activities around them that will make it less stressful, I feel like that will help everybody feel less stressed. And also, it's good if we all have information about COVID. So some events around that. A big thing that I wanted to do was split diversity campaign. It already happened. So traditionally, diversity campaign has been a hodgepodge of everything that's not white or straight. So ideas have been thrown all over the place and it hasn't been super great. So for this year, it's being split in Pride events, which happened already in the summer, which focus around like gender identity, sexual orientation, stuff like that. And then culture diversity will focus more around like culture, ethnicities, and groups and stuff like that. Theme event series, I already told you about the Halloween and 5 Days of Cheer. On winter 2021, I still have to come up with a second event series, but I want to do Geek Week. I feel like traditionally UPI has never targeted people who like video games, people who like comics, who like anime and stuff like that. So I'm gonna make an event series around that and I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously I have to organize, host, and do all of those things. We can continue, Ashley. Yes, so my mandate point number 3 is new and updated resources for clubs and societies. So what has been accomplished? The startup fund, which was mentioned before, the membership cards with 25 local businesses. I'm making a lot of infographics that make clubs and society information more digestible in terms of how to join or how to create one, which are gonna be sent to clubs and societies so they can easily advertise themselves and get people to join or create their own clubs. The club's coordinator, Lena Dabu, and me have been working hard on an online hub, which as I mentioned before, will be an all-encompassing social media page on Facebook where all information about clubs and societies can happen, so students can always be updated on those. And basically, all things that used to exist about clubs and societies are coming back, but they've been reworked. That includes the mentorship and transition program, orientation, executive training, the fair, which is next week, and the website that's being updated. What remains to be done for clubs and societies? Assisting BP Finance at Yumikung in kind of administering the startup funds, helping people strongly advertise for clubs and societies membership cards. I feel like they're a great initiative for people to want to join groups because COVID has greatly affected everybody's finances. As you can see there, yes, Ashley, awesome. So basically those are the businesses included. And all the discounts. It's two-sided, it's awesome. Goji's, Juice Co, Hop Yard, Up Street Brewing Company, Spicy Chef. So as you can see, we have a lot of restaurants. But we also have more recreational things. So like redwood climbing, the guild, Staples. I guess Staples is fun. We have Cozy Cheeks, so you can get like super fashionable, cute masks that match your outfits. Lovely. I all love it. Okay, we can continue, Ashley. Yeah, and basically Lena and I have to make sure that the Clubs and Societies online hub stays alive and works. Usually new Facebook groups on campus tend to die, so we're gonna do our best to keep it alive, similar to the Campus Live International Students page. My final mandate point is increasing volunteering and cross-collaboration on campus. So I drafted a proposition for the Student Life Committee. As mentioned before, I will kind of present that to you in the next council meeting. Just to give you a heads up, it's kind of a committee involving all event organizers on campus so that we can all update each other on what events are we doing, how can we collaborate. I feel like working with other departments will be more important than ever this semester because of the lack of resources all around and all of us needing that extra outreach to students. The Student Life Guide, which includes a bunch of resources about how to volunteer or how to work on campus. Ashley, can you put that one maybe? Just because it's a brand new document and I love how it looks, personally speaking. So yeah, it's just like a guide. It tells you a bunch of different things. So like how to join council if you want to work with the student union, how to volunteer with us. It tells you about the buddy program, the campus life program, the residence events, the things held by athletics. So in general, it just holds a bunch of information about how can you get involved beyond your academics on campus. And I dare say it's really cute, so check it out. We can go back to the presentation, Ashley. Yeah, what remains to be done for increasing cross collaboration? So I'll be the chair for the Student Life Committee if it gets approved. Hopefully it will. I already have the draft for it. It basically explains how it works, who is involved, etc., etc. Since there's going to be a lot more events happening and they're going to be daily, I cannot be in all of them. I wish I could like split myself and be multiple hosts. I'm sure everybody would love that, but I can't. So I'll be training some volunteers and holding some one-day workshops to kind of get them ready, like have a staple person to host online bingo, have a staple person to host online trivia, stuff like that. UPSU virtual podcast. Basically, it's going to be an online podcast that's going to be available on our social media accounts with Student Union. Basically, I'm going to recap the events happening for the next 2 weeks in each podcast, and also inviting people to discuss different things. So maybe Kelly discussing mental health, or maybe Malak discussing something that the Vpac is up to, or maybe a professor coming to discuss something. So be sure to check those out. It'll be cute, I promise. And that's it. So any questions? Maybe that's my hamster mayonnaise.
Thank you for the mandate presentation, Jose. Are there any questions for the VPSL? Seeing none, thank you. And we'll move on to the next point of the agenda, which is the executive mandate for the VP Finance and Administration. So, Yumikan, the floor is yours. I will give you a heads up before you start that we are approaching the 3-hour point of our meeting. Under the UPEI's bylaws and constitutions, meetings have to be extended once they've gone past the 3-hour point. So at 9:05, which is the 3-hour point for this meeting, I will be asking for a motion to extend the meeting to finish the presentation. Just wanted to give you a heads up before you started. Floor is yours, Yumikan.
Thank you so much. So I'm just gonna start. Yeah, so this is the executive mandate of the VP Finance and Administration. So who is the VP Finance and Administration? So basically I deal with everything SU money related, whether that be funding or chairing the budget committee. I deal with all of those, as well as human resource within the organization for part-time staffs, maybe staffs at the Fox and Crow, or different part-time staff at the cadre or yearbook, all of those. I'm also in charge of the services and businesses of the organization, whether that be the Panther Patrol, the bike co-op, the supplies, or working with the bar manager, maybe in terms of human resource or different things around the pub. As I earlier on said, I chair the funding committee as well as the budget committee, and I'm licensed with the VP admin and finance at UPI. A new role was just added to my portfolio this year, which is overseeing the mental health and wellness officer. I'm just gonna go straight to my mandate. Overview of my mandates. My mandates would comprise of the service awareness campaign, UPI SG supplies, budget, sustainability efforts, as well as human resources. Firstly, the service awareness campaign. So in previous years, we usually do something known as the Financial Literacy Week. But this year, I wanted to switch it up a little bit because I realized that we had a lot of services that we have introduced into the union, but yet students are not aware of these services. For example, the Panther Patrol, which kind of serves as a free cab services for students. But most students are not aware of this. So I've taken it upon myself this year to do a year-round campaign to improve students' knowledge on various services they could access in their union. The service awareness campaign is not just limited to the services we offer in the union. We would also be doing things with the university at large, but more focus would be put on the union. This would include in-person workshops. So what I mean by this is just places I could get clusters of students, whether that be at residents, contacting residents to just see where I could talk to students about these services that they could access, whether that's funding or the Panther Patrol, just different things that could help students that we offer in the union. Why, as I earlier said, services have been introduced, but not all students, or most students are not aware of how they could access these services. Now, how would it occur? So on-campus sessions, maybe at the international student office, or just having volunteers create interactive videos online that students could watch, or just contacting different members on campus to provide sessions that help students on several issues. Maybe that be the counseling office, just to talk about how students can access counseling on campus. So the sessions will be spread out throughout the fall and the winter semester. And moving on, UPI SU services. One thing I really wanted to do this year was diversify the food bank, improve more international food options for the UPI SU food bank. Over the summer, I did a survey to get opinions of students on what international food options they would like to see in their food bank. And also partner with various local stores to provide local food for students. Also include other options aside food, maybe that be hygiene products or just different things that are essential for students. Why is this important?
I'm so sorry to have to interrupt, but we have reached our 9:05, so our 3-hour time point for this meeting. So at this point, as there are still items on the agenda to be covered, I am asking for a motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes. Can someone please move that motion?
Okay, I move the motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes.
Sorry, you're not a voting member of council. You mechanically moved by a voting member.
I move the motion to extend the meeting.
Okay, Jose has moved the motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? I see Sam McLean. Jose, would you like to speak to the motion?
Can I speak to the motion?
Malak wants to speak to the motion. Can she do that?
Jose, please speak to please either decline to speak to the motion or speak to the motion, and then we can open it to the floor.
I'll speak to the motion. Thank you everybody for kind of making the time to hear us out today. All this information is really important, and I just appreciate everybody's time. We love you. You're doing great. Bye.
Thank you, Jose. Yes, Malik.
I want to apologize. Ayuma can ask me if she can raise a motion. I said I think so. So that's why. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Seeing no one, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of extending the meeting by 30 minutes? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and this motion has carried. Ayuma, you may resume your presentation.
Yeah, so moving on, UPISU services, that would be the supplies. As I said earlier on, I want to improve more international food options at the UPISU Food Bank, provide more diverse food options, partner with different local stores to provide local food for students, include other options aside food. The reason why is because over the summer, this was the first summer we ran the supplies and we did it online. I found that about 75% of students who use the supply during the summer were international students, so it'll be very important to cater for things that they would like to see in their food bank. Moving on, the budget, so ensure transparency and engagement of students in the UPISU budget. So this year, I want to make sure that the budget includes more visuals rather than numbers. So students are more interested in participating in budget consultation, or even whether that be me presenting the budget to council. It's more accessible to people who are not really number inclined. Hold several budget consultation over the year, so students know what their money is going towards or what they want it to go towards. Moving on, sustainability effort. Working closely with relevant parties to improve sustainability around campus, whether that be meeting with the environmental department or the engineering department, just looking for ways that we could improve our sustainability effort as an organization. As I earlier said when I was presenting the budget is, we're still going to make some amendments. So whether that be creating funding lines to help students who have initiative around sustainability ideas for campus. Also host online consultation, asking students' opinion on what they think about what we are doing regarding sustainability and what they would like us to do as an organization. Moving on, HR, as I earlier said, I am in charge of HR for our part-time staff, whether that be at the Fox and Crow or Cadre or the Yearbook. So improve internal HR governance. This year it's quite different. Most of the staffs, for example, Cadre, they would most time work from home. So having that check-in to see how they're doing, or if it may be complaint or maybe recommendations that they think the organization can improve on. So just having that, not losing that bond, even though they are not here in the building. Also serve as the middleman, whether that be within a supervisor, maybe that's Malak and Anaga. So just serve as a middleman when it comes to that. So that's pretty much it for me. If you have any questions about funding, budget, services, ideas surrounding sustainability or campus trust, as I said earlier, I am a trustee on the campus trust. So if you have any questions about that, you could always reach out to me. And does anyone have any questions for me?
Great, thank you very much for your presentation of your mandate. Are there any questions for the VP Finance? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you so much for your presentation. The last item that we have on our agenda tonight is interim UPISU committee appointments. As I discussed earlier, during the training, we have a number of committees. In order to fill them temporarily, we're going to ask folks to pick some committees that they'd like to join tonight. I'll give a brief rundown. Governance Committee works with policies, bylaws, and constitutions. So any changes to policies go through governance. So you work on editing those documents. Funding Committee is dedicated to communicating student funding options and also making sure that, you know, folks who apply for funding get an equal amount of the funding. Budget Committee works on drafting the budget for the entire organization. So in the fall, that looks at like amending the budget so that make sure that it fits the needs of the organization. Next committee we have there is the New Initiative and Future Directions Committee. This is the NIFT committee. It's almost like the Center for Innovation for the UPISU. So any new initiatives go through that. And finally, you have the Academic Steering Committee, which focuses on advocacy priorities for the UPISU. So in order to be as respectful of folks' time as possible, these are temporary appointments. So appointments will be changed at the end of October. So I'm just going to go section by committee, and if you're interested, please indicate so in the chat. So for Governance Committee, who is interested? So I see Laura Mcneil. Is anyone else interested in sitting on Governance Committee? I see Bray. Okay, we'll now move to Funding Committee. Is anyone interested in sitting in Funding Committee? I see Sam. Anyone else interested in sitting on on Funding Committee? I see Riley. Funding Committee also already has the graduate student representative. So Dan, you've actually already been assigned to funding and NIFT. So it's good information. Budget Committee, who is interested in sitting on Budget Committee? Okay, who is interested in sitting on the NIFT Committee, New Initiatives and Future Directions? I see Carrie, I see Alexander, and I see Tasnif. Yes, sorry, Tasnif, you actually already sit on the New Initiatives and Future Directions Committee as the international rep. So that worked out great that you're interested in that committee. And finally, the Academic Steering Committee, it's a faculty rep. So this would have to be a science or business rep. Or engineering would also be a faculty rep. Okay. Seeing no one else who's interested in joining committees, that will be our temporary committee, temporary counselor committee appointments for right now. They will be reassessed at the end of October. Can I get a motion to approve the temporary counselor committee appointments?
I am raising a motion to approve the temporary council committee's assignments.
Thank you, Malik. So raised by Malik. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Carrie. Malik, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it and that motion has carried. That brings us to the next item on our agenda for this evening, which is new business. The new business section of the meeting is a time where any counselors or executives can bring up any new ideas or move any motions that haven't already been discussed during the meeting. So if anyone would like to speak during new business, please raise your hand and the floor will be yours. Seeing no one, I won't drag it on. Thanks so much for staying with us, folks. I know it's been a long meeting. The typical meetings are not this long. Future meetings will hopefully be a little quicker pace. Yeah, so welcome to the UPISU and thanks for making it through your first meeting. Seeing as there is no one else who would like to speak, we will move to adjournment. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. I see Brian.
Hello, I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you for your motion, Brian. Can I get a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Tasneef. Brian, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you everyone for bearing with this and being there. And I'm very excited to work with all of you this year, and have a good night and have a good week.
Great, thank you, Brian. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of adjournment? All opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion has carried and we are adjourned for the evening. Have a great night, counselors.